Yeah, the dolphins. One of my buddies my buddies liking me because I left the day with Blue Acres. So I was like, I got a new day there. I lined it up. I haven't had any.
I don't think that would be much to cover anyhow.
Yeah, I know. Right.
I think that particular issue, I never played games with the money that we're going to rely on the sheriff.
Yeah. What I said is I thought the council would feel better about settling if they might get down to it or something. Give that a swing.
Next week's going to be our major worst week for contested issues. You got the Woody Edition annexation of Brookside zoning. You got Brookside zoning, you got Sheriff's Land, you got Marion High, and there's Grand Creek College.
Yeah.
Nick said
Okay. All right, thanks.
That's a terrible, that thing is off and on. They just shouldn't have it.
but I mean, bear in mind, it is an issue. But it is an issue where they never would But anyways, what I'm getting at is next week, I'm thinking I'll be down here for the first 45 minutes and then
You'll use the
take
paint.
the first tape upstairs. If we could maybe have you sit over there and do monitoring after that. Karen would come in tonight and pick up the first tape at 8:15. Tomorrow's the last day, so next week. That long of a meeting and then Friday being Christmas. I mean, packets out by Thursday. Although I may not get packets out till Saturday.
Well, you know, that's a matter of opinion. I was thinking about it. Well, they were both kind of it was a little school Thursday, but after that, I thought it was fine. Well, you know, windbreak. I thought it was considerably worse.
That's right.
And then I went to New York City, which was freezing. In fact, when I went to DC, there was snow on the ground.
Call the meeting of the City Council to order. The record will show that all of the members of the council are present except Councilman Horton. Are there any changes to the minutes of the last meeting, Mrs. Schaefer?
On pages 10 and 11, when we are approving those water authorizations, number 3 and number 7 should be changed to mountain water. That is mentioned in the paragraph above, but if you were researching it, you might not look at that paragraph.
Thank you, Donna. Any other changes? If not, we'll accept the minutes as corrected. Under items for final consideration, we have 2 items this evening from the Plat Annexation and Zoning Committee. Mr. Sampson.
First, deny a request by Susan O'Neill of First Interstate Bank to rezone Lot 4, Hillview Heights,
Number 7, from R1 single-family residential to R2 residential with duplexes permitted located on Grandview Way in the northeast quarter of Section 7, Township 12 North, Range 19 West, PMM. And I would move the denial. Let's speak to that briefly.
Mr. Sampson.
I have some very mixed emotions on this particular motion. I think the preliminary work on it has been handled very poorly. It got tangled up with land that the city was rezoning that had been taken over on tax title, and this particular parcel of land had not. However, it was rezoned, and I think there was some things that fell through the crack, but in as much as the rest of the land that adjoins this, at least it was not built on, is R1, and the neighborhood purchased a great deal of property there with the understanding this is R1. Why, I would go along with keeping that in an R1 zone, and I would urge the concurrence.
Mr. Reedy.
Yes, I would agree with Al and go with the recommendation, strong recommendation. The plan board was 7-1. I know there's been some mistakes made on this, but the people that built there under the assumption that it would stay R1, and the neighborhood is strongly in favor of R1, and I will support the neighborhood, as I usually do in this case.
Further discussion, Mrs. Schaefer.
If this were not such a serious matter, it would be almost a comedy of errors, because they seem to just pile one on the other and multiply. In my mind, there is no fair way to settle this or vote on it. It's not fair to the bank, and it's not fair, and the opposite side is not fair to the residents. It's a really tough situation that need not have happened.
Mrs. Shea.
I would concur with the motion on the floor. It's unfortunate that someone in the department at OCD did not convey the necessary communication in a timely manner to the bank and the principals involved. However, this development, as I see it, would not be compatible with the neighborhood. There is substantial opposition to the proposed change in zoning, and I respect that. Also, the planning board denied this, so I support the motion.
Any further discussion? I think that it may be important to underscore the reasons that Councilman Sampson has given and Mr. Reedy, that the action that's being taken is essentially upon the recommendation and for the reasons cited by the planning board. The Plat Annexation and Zoning Committee report contains a reference to denying the request upon the large number of protests, and while I think that it's important that council members be responsive to protests and so on, that is generally not a good and sufficient reason for making zoning decisions. So it's important that the record reflect that the council's reasoning here goes well beyond the large number of protests that were filed. Is there any further discussion? If not, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Craig. Yes. Gingarelli. Yes. Harrison. Yes. Hermes. Yes. Laughlin. Yes. Potts. Yes. Reedy.
Yes.
Rosenleaf. Yes. Sampson.
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
Shea.
Yes.
Would the passes care to change their vote beginning with Hermes?
No change.
No change. Rosenleaf? No change. Motion passes 9-0-2 with 1 absent.
Next item is also from the Plat Annexation and Zoning Committee. Mr. Sampson.
This is an ordinance regarding amendment to city zoning ordinance definition of front yard, and I would so move. This, we had a public hearing on this, heard no adverse comment. The PAZ committee looked it over again and recommended approval, and I would urge your concurrence.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Gingarelli. Yes. Harrison. Yes. Hermes. Yes. Laughlin. Yes. Potts. Yes. Reedy.
Yes.
Rosenleaf. Yes. Sampson.
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
Shea.
Yes.
Craig.
Yes.
Motion passes 11-0.
Public comments from citizens. We provide an opportunity at each of our meetings for citizens to address the council on any items other than those that have been set for public hearing. We'd ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes and that you give us your name and address. Mr. LePage.
I'm Julia LePage. I live at 717 Parkview Way. And I'm the chairman of the Bonner Park Band Show Fund. And our other members of my board are Azara Stenger, she's our secretary-treasurer, and Steve Bodner, and they've both agreed to serve another year. The fund is a tax-exempt fund, and when I was here the 6th of December last year, we had $15,150. Our capital account this year has got $19,210, and we're hoping maybe to pick up a little more. The gains in this year were $500 from the Missoula Rotary Club, $802 from Cedric Ames. He catered dinner out there and gave us the profits. Garlington Lawn and Robinson gave us $1,000 that they have before, and the Southgate Mall gave us $500. That was for the 4th of July concert. From donations at band concerts, passing the hat, we got $1,582.93. We're estimating that we will get in the current year $640 in interest. Last year, we put in a budget of $8,500, and we said we could take $600 off because we figured we'd make that much in interest. Now, by the time I submit the budget to you, Al, it may be a little more than $600 because we're changing our investments a little bit, try to get a little better rate of interest than 2 or 3%. Expenditures this year was we paid out of our fund $400 for the sound system and $330 for 3 4-door file cabinets, legal size. That was to put the music in. When the maestro, Alexander Stebbins, had all the music in his basement. When he went to California, they moved it around, and it was in pasteboard boxes, and it's very valuable music. Music for one piece for the band is worth several $100. Our new band leader, and this is good news, is Mr. Gary Gillette, the band leader at Big Sky High School, and Mr. Bill Haffey, who plays clarinet in the band and is an instructor at Hellgate, uses his computer. I'll get this right. All music is now databased, stamped, numbered, and filed correctly in the cabinets, and it's out in Mr. Gillette's basement. And that way, the last few years we haven't been buying any new music because it's so expensive. And we expect that the concerts will start a little earlier next June because of, the fair has moved their dates back. Do you have any questions?
Mr. Sampson.
It's not a question, but I would urge you to get your request together and get it to the mayor's office as early after the first of the year as is practical, your standpoint.
I can get that out by before the end of January, all right?
Yeah,
That'd be fine.
just coordinate it with the mayor's office on it.
Any questions for Mr. LePage?
Thank you.
Thank you, Julian. Is there any other public comment? Mr. Ammons.
Thanks. Season's greetings. I'm Randy Ammon, Executive Director at MCAT, just down the street, and when not there, I reside at 257 South Easy Street in Missoula. I have just some brief sharing of good news and an invitation tonight. The 5th Annual Montana Film and Video Festival was held in Helena at the end of November, and there were 53 entries from, I believe, 5 western states and 3 Canadian provinces. Out of these 53 entries, 11 winners were selected. Out of the 11 winners, there were 4 productions from the state of Montana honored. From these 4 productions, 3 were produced right here in Missoula, either in part or wholly, with equipment and facilities provided by Missoula Community Access Television. So we're very proud of our volunteer producers, and we congratulate Kenny Rose, Roman Kutzker, and Lori Hudak and Bruce Whitey. The award-winning productions will be part of a live show that's coming Sunday from 3 to 6 p.m. on MCAT called our Holiday Party 92. It's going to be a Hanukkah, Christmas, solstice, insert your holiday here party. Storytelling, songs, food, and fun. And I'd like to invite everyone within the sound of my voice to attend Sunday, Spruce and Higgins downstairs at the Circle Square building, 3 to 6. If you can't make it in person, you can tune into MCAT right here on Channel 7 on TCI. The Sunday or the replay will be Monday from 3 to 6 p.m. So thank you. Happy holidays.
Thank you, Randy.
I'm Neil Leathers and live at 2423 South Hills in Missoula. And I just wanted to congratulate MCAT and mention that I watched a program this Sunday that had Gary Evans, who's doing the rezoning, and had a panel discussion where basically I remember the panelists peppering questions at Gary and he was responding to them all. That's going to be rebroadcast this Thursday evening at 9:05. And I think people that have questions about zoning, he tries to explain things so everyone would understand. There's neighborhood group members there, they're asking questions. So it's a really good forum that people understand at least what he's trying to do with this rewrite of the zoning book. And that's going to be Thursday at 9:05. It'll be rebroadcast again probably in January when this all heats up again. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Any other public comment? If not, we'll go to our public hearing. We have a hearing this evening on a resolution declaring it to be the intention of the City Council of the City of Missoula to change the street name of Placer Court in Mountain Shadows Edition Number 1, Book 9, page 11, filed February 21st, 1968, to the City of Missoula. Is there any staff report? Is there any testimony? If not, we'll close the public hearing. Under my communications this evening, I might have said this earlier while we were dealing with the Grandview Way item. I had a letter late last week from someone in Grandview Village expressing concern about the way that that neighborhood is sometimes referred to, and it was actually quite a good letter. I'll make copies of it available to the council. I thought that it was important that the items that were raised there be brought to our attention. Unfortunately, whoever sent me the letter didn't sign it and didn't give me either a name or an address, and so I'm not able to respond to it. And I just wanted to say, if that person is listening, I appreciate hearing from you, and if you give me your name and address, I'll write back to you. I think that Kelly is going to talk a little bit about the National League of Cities meeting later in our meeting this evening. Al mentioned it a little bit last week. Missoula was probably better represented this year than it's been for a long, long while at the National League of Cities meeting. I was glad to be there and to be able to take in as many of the workshops as I got in on. It made me feel that a lot of what we're trying to do in Missoula, at least, is moving in the right direction. Just the kinds of workshops that people were really paying attention to made it clear to me, first of all, that our efforts to expand our capacity to involve citizens in the work that we do is something that's really being paid a lot of attention to across the country, and that most of what we're trying to do there is moving in the right direction. I was real impressed by some of the presentations that we had on what some cities are doing in terms of trying to do a better job of informing the public about what the city is up to. We heard some real good descriptions of some of the methods that cities use, either with printing brochures or with using public access or other methods of making sure that people know what's going on. And it's more and more clear to me that that kind of thing really does pay dividends. Basically, I think what it comes down to from the presentation that I heard was that that kind of information is just another kind of infrastructure that cities need to pay attention to, and that people are coming to rely upon more and more. So I would hope that we'll be able to get some information. I've asked for some information from some of the cities that are doing that especially well, and if I can get a hold of that, I'll share it with you. We'll go now to the consent agenda. I'll ask Chuck to read the items.
There are 2 items on this evening's consent agenda. The first is to continue during 1993 to schedule and conduct regular city council meetings at 7:30 p.m. on the first 4 Mondays of each month, except legal holidays, and instructing the city clerk's office to so advertise. Second is to agree to the type of rebate as requested by the county for the main extension to serve Larchmont Golf Course Clubhouse, and request the staff to develop an interlocal agreement.
Would any council members like to have either of these items returned to the regular agenda? If not, we'll have a roll call vote on the consent agenda.
Harrison. Yes. Hermes. Yes. Laughlin. Yes. Potts. Yes. Reedy.
Yes.
Rosenleaf.
Yes.
Sampson.
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
Shea.
Yes.
Craig.
Yes.
Chingarelli.
Yes.
Consent agenda passes 11-0.
Go now to committee reports. First, the Administration Ordinances and Resolutions Committee. Mr. Reedy.
Yes, first one, the committee recommends that the city council adopt a resolution authorizing the city of Missoula's participation in various job, training, and work experiences programs during the calendar year 1993, and authorize the mayor to sign all such agreements deemed desirable after review of the contract provisions by the city attorney, and I so move.
Is there any discussion? Roll call. Is there any public comment? Roll call.
Hermes.
Yes.
Laughlin.
Yes.
Potts.
Yes.
Reedy.
Yes.
Rosenleaf.
Yes.
Sampson.
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
Shea.
Yes.
Craig.
Yes.
Chingarelli.
Yes.
Harrison.
Yes.
Resolution passes 11-0.
Next one, the committee recommends that the city council establish voicemail for city council members in an internal basis and later review at budget time to determine if the city council wants to expand the system to external calls, and I so move.
Is there any discussion? I'm glad to see the council moving in this direction. It's one way that we can improve our internal communications, which was one of the items that was urged on us during the strategic planning session that we invited council members to. So I'd ask if you see something where you think that we could do a better job of communicating by using this new device, that you use it and let us know that, okay? Any further discussion? Kelly?
I just have a question since I wasn't at that discussion. So does that mean citizens can leave us voicemail messages if they call City Hall and get either Chuck's office or the mayor's office?
No, the way it would be structured would be internal only and not accepting the external calls.
Okay, so you
citizens,
can leave me a message.
right, I can, or any member on the phone system city or county could leave you a message, but citizens would still have to call you at home or your designated numbers.
Okay, thank you.
And let me just ask another question. Then council members can leave themselves messages as long as they're doing it from their phone or any other phone inside City Hall.
Or even if they call in from their house and are within the system, they can leave a message just as you or I can send messages to anyone.
Do we have any plans for giving council members briefings on some of the shortcuts and techniques that they might want to use for sending messages to several receivers and so on?
Yeah, Al asked about that, and once we get the county to make the system changes and it's up and running, we'll schedule both some written and some hands-on training sessions.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
And a report.
Appointments Committee, Mrs. Craig.
Appointment to City County Health Board. The committee recommends the council reappoint Judy Chapman to the City County Health Board from January 1st, 1993 through September 31st, 1995, and I would so move.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Appointment to Historic Preservation Commission. The committee recommends that council reappoint Bob Oakes to the Historic Preservation Commission for the North Riverfront and west of Higgins area from January 1st, 1993 through December 31st, 1994, and I would so move.
Is there any discussion? Ms. Rosenleaf.
I would just like to speak in support of that appointment. Bob Oakes has given the city tremendous service in the area of historic preservation and is now very active in the historic research that's going on in the North Side Railroad District, and he's a wealth of knowledge on this topic if anyone is interested in historic values of any property in the city.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The motion carries.
Appointments to Missoula Consolidated Planning Board. The committee recommends the council reappoint John Fletcher to the Missoula Consolidated Planning Board from January 1st, 1993 through December 31st, 1995, and I would so move.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Congratulations, John, and thank you for your service. We appreciate it. I'm sorry, Mrs. Craig.
The committee recommends the council reappoint Pat McCarthy to the Missoula Consolidated Planning Board from January 1st, 1993 through December 31st, 1995, and I would so move.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Appointment to Parks and Recreation Board. The committee recommends the council confirm the mayor's appointment of Adrian Cordy to the Parks and Recreation Board to fill James Hoffman's position until April 30th, 1993, and I would so move.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
That's the end of my report.
Committee of the Whole, Mr. Sampson.
Yes, we had a meeting of the Committee of the Whole on Wednesday afternoon, and the zoning ordinance revision, we met primarily for the purposes of setting up a time frame on it, and also we decided that we had the necessity to probably make changes in the existing ordinance in order to do away with the individual notification of all property owners within the affected area, and the way the motion came out on the report, I'm not sure whether it's correct or not, but it says the committee recommends the council refer to the OCD staff the ordinance amendment pertaining to general notification regulations of the existing city zoning ordinance. And I think that was all right as far as it went, but then I think the intent at least was, and then they refer to the council to set public hearing for the ordinance change. And I'm not sure, after some discussion later, and I haven't had a chance to talk to Jim Nugent after I heard some of the discussion, got thinking about it, I don't know whether it's necessary to refer that to the planning board or not. If it isn't, why, I think the intent and the motion that I would make would be what I had there, and they refer to council to set public hearing for ordinance change on it. But
Jim, do
I
you
guess I'd
see
like
any
to ask
reason that
Jim.
it should go to the planning board?
You're amending one of your zoning regulations, and my understanding of the committee discussion was that we asked Philip when the next planning board meeting was. He indicated January 5th, and the indication was if you voted tonight, you could have it to the January 5th planning board meeting. And Philip also indicated that it was a zoning ordinance, that all your zoning ordinances go through the planning board.
Okay, so the referral, what we want to do tonight is then make referral to the planning board. Okay, I would so move.
Okay. Mrs. Schaefer?
When we refer to the notification regulations, are we referring to just the time when we'll have to notify everybody in the city if this new ordinance is adopted? Or are we referring to the individual notifications now that we send to people who live within 150 feet? Would we still continue to do that?
As I understand it, there's going to be an exception for general ordinance revisions that will mean that you will not send out the individual first-class notice. Philip informed the committee of the whole that under your current ordinances, you have to send out first-class notice to everyone. And the idea was to save tax dollars and save burdening the OCD staff, that the prudent thing to do would be to revert back to the state statutes and their advertising requirements and rely on those for the general ordinance, although you'd probably go a little further with several ads about the zoning ordinance and probably some brochures or literature of that sort. But the idea was to move away from all the tax cost as well as this burden to the Office of Community Development staff, because the burden it would place on them to notify everyone in this city, first-class mail, of the zoning ordinance revision.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Would we still protect the notification of the people that live within 150 feet of one particular project?
I'm not sure what you mean by protective.
Well, would
the
we...
state law, that's a state law basically, and the state law requires notice, published notice, and requires that it be noticed at least 15 days in advance of the hearing. Are you talking about the ordinance requirement about first-class mail? Because that was the discussion. You're in essence rezoning the community, and you'd have to give that notice to every single property.
I understand that part. I just want to be sure that property owners are notified, and they have to do that. That's a state law, so I guess they're safe.
No.
Mr. Sams?
That's the protest zone. There's no requirement in state law for that type of notice. That's a notice requirement that the city has adopted by ordinance and put. The city council's current ordinance goes a lot further than state law with respect to notice. And that's the ordinance that the city council is creating an exception to for a general ordinance revision.
But the exception is only for general ordinance revision and would not apply to specific projects. So our current ordinance would continue to apply.
But I don't see the words exception in here.
I don't think that they had a copy of the proposed ordinance in the packet.
No.
Mr. Taylor?
I just, for the council's recollection, the instructions from the committee of the whole were for the OCD staff to research ways that some exception could be provided as an ordinance, and to come back to PAZ with a report on a recommendation for an amendment to the ordinance to allow for general notice on the event of a revision. And I think that John Merrill was to refer that issue so that you could have a discussion like we're having right now at PAZ and still have time to refer it to the planning board before their January 5th meeting. I think that OCD is going to research different options and verify what the requirements of state law is, but also to recommend a way to provide appropriate and adequate notice to the citizens on the general revision consideration.
Mr. Sampson.
Yeah, this was to some minor extent at least confusing when we were discussing it before, and it probably still is, but I think it is important that we refer it, that it be referred to us and that we refer it to the planning board so we can move as rapidly as necessary through this. I have some very grave concerns, as Donna is expressing, if this is only to change the zoning ordinance and not to rezone properties involved, but only to clarify the zoning regulations, in which we have specifically recommended doing now on the AA, the single-family areas. But if we are going to do this to rezone some properties, put some additional hoops for people that live in specific areas without notification to those people, why I think we're doing it wrong, because what we're doing is we're not going to notify people of the ordinance change, and then we're going to put new zoning in that is going to, in many cases, give more notification than we were before. So I think we want to do this, but I think we want to look closely when we do it, that we are not treading on some toes, and we're not changing some zoning that and notifying people about their change of zoning without knowing what we're doing. But I think we should proceed with the referrals.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion to refer this matter to the planning board, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Before we go on, I would just like to remind people who are listening that as a result of the action of the Committee of the Whole, that we have now a schedule of hearings that people may want to get into their calendars. The City Council and the Consolidated Planning Board will hold a joint public hearing at the February 2nd regular meeting of the Consolidated Planning Board. Then on February 8th, there will be a further joint public hearing at the regular City Council meeting. In between there, on February 5th, there's a deadline for the Mayor's office to receive written comments that would appear in the comments index to be distributed with the Mayor's draft of the proposed zoning ordinance. So February 2nd and February 8th, there will be hearings, and February 5th is a deadline for comments, for written comments.
That are going to be in the appendix.
Finance and License Committee.
This is the report of the meeting of this evening. First, the committee recommends the council approve a tax increment release agreement with Missoula Urban Transportation District for the amount of $5,269.17, and I would so move.
Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Laughlin. Yes. Potts. Yes. Reedy.
Yes.
Rosenleaf.
Yes.
Sampson.
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
Shea.
Yes.
Craig.
Yes.
Gingarelli.
Yes.
Harrison.
Yes.
Hermes.
Yes.
Contract is approved 11-0.
Next, the committee recommends the council approve a tax increment release agreement with Missoula County High School District for the amount of $30,504.28, and I would so move. This is the last of the dispersal of tax increment releases as allowed in the this year's budget.
Discussion? Roll call.
Potts.
Yes.
Reedy.
Yes.
Rosenleaf.
Yes.
Sampson.
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
Shea.
Yes.
Craig.
Yes.
Gingarelli.
Yes.
Harrison.
Yes.
Hermes.
Yes.
Laughlin.
Yes.
Agreement's approved 11-0.
Next, the committee recommends the council approve claims totaling $531,444.52, and I would so move.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
End of report.
Plat Annexation and Zoning Committee, anything further? Public Works Committee, Mr. Potts.
Yes, we have one item. The committee recommends that the council agree to the type of rebate as requested by the county for the main extension to serve Larchmont Golf Course, and requests that the staff to develop an interlocal agreement. And I would so move.
I think that's the one we handled on the consent agenda. We have a change order.
Oh, that's right. That was it's a change order in the regular. The committee recommended that the council approve change order number 1 in accordance with section 7-5-4308 MCA, procedure to modify municipal contracts, approving change order number 1 to the contract between Keeney Construction and the City of Missoula for project number 92-033 for 300 block of Railroad Street for an increase in the contract for the amount of $3,233.48, and I would so move.
Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Reedy.
Yes.
Rosenleaf.
Yes.
Sampson.
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
Shea.
Yes.
Craig.
Yes.
Gingarelli.
Yes.
Harrison.
Yes.
Hermes.
Yes.
Laughlin.
Yes.
Potts.
Yes.
Resolution passes 11-0.
End of report.
Go now to comments of City Council members. Start with Mrs. Craig.
No comment.
Mrs. Gingarelli.
I've begun some preliminary discussions with people living in Ward 3 voting precincts 33 and 9 about the possible formation of a neighborhood group for that area. This is the area roughly west of Higgins, north of Strand, east of Stevens, and south of South 6 West. It's an area of Ward 3 currently not covered by a neighborhood association, and I anticipate convening precinct meetings sometime after the first of the year. Thanks.
Mrs. Schaefer.
You're going to begin to think that I'm a paid advertiser for Missoula Children's Theater, but actually my commercials or raves come after the fact. Annie was great, and it's unbelievable that those performers are not professionals. It was fun to watch former Councilman Bob Lucino in the part of the butler, sometimes quite dignified and other times not, but always good. And in a serious matter, as most of you know, and when you read the notice up in our office, Warren Oey, who works for the street department, has used up all his sick leave, which means he now has to pay his own insurance premium at the time when he needs the insurance and probably the money the most, as he has not been able to go back to work. You saw the notice of asking for employees to donate some of their sick leave time. But that is no longer hour for hour, and I just learned that this weekend. If someone gives up 40 hours of their sick leave, the person who gets it only gets 10. And this is a fairly recent change, or at least I just became aware of it. I would like to refer this matter to either Finance or AOR, wherever would be appropriate.
Should go to AOR.
AOR.
Ms. Rosenleaf.
I would like to ask the council's permission to take slightly over 3 minutes to report on the National Congress of Cities. That'd be all right.
Without objection.
I'd like first to thank the council for supporting my desire to attend the National Congress of City in New Orleans. I found the workshops and the opportunity to meet with other council members and mayors and city clerks and so on from other communities to be very valuable. Communities are facing problems similar to Missoula's problems, and it was useful to meet with them and chat about the possible solutions. I summarized the content of several of the best workshops that I attended in some notes, and I photocopied them for you all, but they escaped my briefcase before I arrived here this evening, so I'll leave them in your boxes. But I wanted to talk a little bit about what I felt was probably the most interesting workshop that I attended, and as it turns out, Dan was in that workshop as well. And the workshop was regarding citizen involvement. It was entitled Empowering Residents as Resources to Make Your Communities Work. And the communities that presented information were Everett, Washington, and Hickory, North Carolina. And both communities have committed considerable resources to public information offices within their cities in order that the public would be more informed and minimize anger when people find out about things after the fact or at the last minute. One of them opened a city hall office in the mall, and it maintains the hours of the mall, and you can pay all your sewer fees and taxes and so on, as well as sign up for the CPR classes and get information about various things regarding the city business right in the mall, which I thought was very helpful. Another community offers half-day bus tours, and they call them town meetings, to employee groups and various citizen groups, and they tour the various city facilities and have presentations by various department representatives, much like some of the new council members received when we first came on board, as a way of informing citizens about the work of the city. And they're also doing that with every third grade class as part of the government education of third grade, which I thought was an excellent idea. And while they're doing that, in addition, they solicit input from the citizens about various kinds of concerns that the citizens have. Hickory publishes a quarterly newsletter and inserts it in the newspaper, the city newspaper, and mails an annual report to all households in the city limits, which includes photos of the city that are selected in a local competition, a photography competition. I also attended another workshop on open space and historic preservation, and one of the things that's happening is that some communities are putting 1% of their capital improvement budget, not capital equipment, but sewer and street projects, into arts and cultural investments in their communities. I also attended the annual business meeting of the League of Cities, and by the way, this publication covers the conference pretty well, I noticed. Conducting a meeting with several hundred voting delegates turns out to be a pretty big challenge, and each voting delegate has a different amount of votes. So Montana had 20 votes, and Al shared those with the delegates. He had 10 votes, and the rest of us had 2, and you have to hold up your voting card, and they're different colors, and it's kind of a wild process if they actually have to count the votes. Most of the votes were voiced votes. The hotly contested issues included the League's position on the Federal Family Leave Act, a licensing process for nuclear facilities, a resolution supporting the right of gays and lesbians to be in the military, and a resolution disapproving of Colorado's anti-homosexual legislation. As it turns out, the League now has a neutral position on the Family Leave Act, although the language supports the concept of a work environment that supports families. Some members of the League felt that it was that the Family League Act constitutes an unfunded federal mandate and therefore were opposed to it, so the language does not include support for that act. Also, a single license evaluation for nuclear facility was supported in a very contentious process. The League now supports the right of gays and lesbians to be in the military, but did not pass a resolution disapproving of Colorado's legislation, with some members seeing this as a state issue and one that the League should not be involved in. I did not attend any of the additional workshops that were offered prior to the start of the actual Congress of Cities, but I spoke to several people who had, and they reported that they were excellent and definitely worth the additional time and money. Overall, I found the conference to be extremely valuable. On a sort of related matter, as I wandered around the city down by the conference center, it's down by the river. They've made a number of investments in the area. They have a riverfront mall, and that's where you pick up the riverboat tours and so on. To get to that area, people must cross 3 railroad tracks at grade, and hundreds of people do so every day. 2 of them are a commuter and tourist trolley car going both directions along the riverfront there, and the 3rd is a freight track, and I observed several freight trains going along that track while I was there. There are at least 6 pedestrian at-grade crossings in that area, and they are controlled simply with flashing lights and those cross signs. There are no gate arrangements at all, and in fact the whole area is open. People could cross really wherever they wanted, but there are 6 that I counted designated crossings in the area. So I thought that was an interesting model as we look to our railroad crossing project. I did take some pictures of the crossings, and when I get them back I will show them to you. So again, I felt it was really valuable. I'll leave the notes for all of you, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Kelly. Mr. Laughlin.
I won't take 3 minutes, but it was a very nice report, Kelly. I'd like to, I have a couple of items tonight. I want to congratulate the City Parking Commission, or maybe I should pin it a little closer down to the meter maids passing out Christmas presents instead of parking tickets today. A little red ticket on the windshield, and it said, "You are forgiven," and maybe there is a Santa Claus after all. Secondly, what I would like to discuss in detail, and Jim, I want to talk to you tomorrow about this. I was walking downtown during the lunch hour, and on the curbs where at our wheelchair accessible, there's about 3 inches of ice that is very hard to maneuver. And what really brought it to my attention was down across the street on the north end of Higgins from the Ox. There was a handicapped person with a cane who had a lot of trouble maneuvering that ramp. If there's an ordinance in this city that says the city or the homeowners shall clean their sidewalks, I would like to see the downtown business people cleaning the ice off of theirs. Thank you.
Thank you, Norm. Mrs. Shea.
So I have just a couple of things to say. Al, I know that you're going to be gone for a little while, and I hope that we get your input and your opinion on the acquisition of the headquarters fire station property along East Pine. We're going to take this up in Public Safety Committee tomorrow, and as I look through this, and I would encourage the rest of the council members to look, there's quite a few details in there, and some that I was concerned about, requirements by the property owners, specifically the Dailies, who pretty much own everything there, as even for when we would begin to start building on the property and getting it ready for the fire station. We will be, or perhaps have been, and Al, I'm sure you know more about this than I do, in negotiations over this land. In negotiations, give and take is very common, and I'd like to see more of that, and not just give on the city's part. I really thought that the figures were very much on the high side, and I think if Jeff says that, then we got to believe it. So. Secondly, there was a meeting tonight of the Rattlesnake Homeowners Association on the transportation plan. That's where Joe Aldegary is, and there have been several other concerns about Brookside and some of the other zoning proposals in the Rattlesnake. I have a memo from Doris Fisher that said there will be a meeting to discuss policy issues surrounding the review of development proposals, and that will be this Friday at 9:30 to 10:30 in the council conference room, City Hall. And that sounds like that will help alleviate some of the people's concerns about that. I spoke with a person today who's in my Lions Club. His name is C.W. Weir. He's the owner of Auto Medics out on Brook Street. It was formerly owned by Harley Getter. It's a gas station, and he tried to go through the CLB overlay process, and he said that he was just thoroughly frustrated by the process. He wanted to upgrade his station and found out that it was grandfathered in, and the rules were not clear and seemed to be changing constantly through the process, and he just kind of gave up. And he said that he really sees the need for kind of a more of harmony in the process, clarity of rules, and between the residential and commercial and businesses. He said that although he gave up personally, he would be glad to come in and talk to us and perhaps help somebody else who's trying to go through that process.
Mr. Harrison.
I have no comment.
Mr. Hermes.
No comment.
Mr. Reedy.
Yeah, so let's say I made a referral regarding the use of oxyfuels, and the reason I did that, I was at a get-together yesterday with some people from Fairbanks, Alaska, who are in the same situation we are. And they made some rather wild claims about how it affects your health and how it doesn't work and all that. And I just referred this so that perhaps we can have the health department check with the Fairbanks Daily News Miner and see just how valid these claims are. And I don't want to sound any alarms. I just want to find out, and that's why it's there.
Thank you, Jack. Mr. Sampson.
Yes, fire station acquisition. I have met on several occasions with Jeff on this. I've also discussed it with the fire department. I think the negotiations are proceeding in a timely manner. I think negotiations go better if they are that negotiations and not public forums. So I think Jeff is proceeding properly on it, and with the appraisal situation and the method that we go through for purchases on this, why I think the city is being protected on it, and I hope it continues in a timely manner. However, I would expect it not probably be completed until after I get back. I hope it is, but I suspect that it will not be. We have acquired the land for the West Side Fire Station. I attended a meeting with the architect, which several of the firefighters, the fire staff and Dennis attended, and I think the outcome of that particular meeting is that they're going to proceed as rapidly as practical to get that one on and off the drawing board and break ground as quickly as possible on it.
Thank you, Al. Mr. Potts.
No comment.
Is there any comment from city staff this evening? Is there any new business? If not, we'll go to referrals. Chuck?
We have one that was too late for the agenda, and that was Donna Schaefer's request regarding sick leave donation policy to administration, ordinances, and resolutions. From the regular agenda, request by Dennis Taylor regarding Missoula Health Plan to Administration, Ordinance, and Resolution Committee. Then request by Donna Gockler regarding annual review of Parks Department fee schedule to Conservation. Request by Chuck Stearns regarding claims to Finance and License. Request by Chuck Stearns regarding contract award for gasoline purchases in 1993 to Finance and License. Request by Chuck Stearns regarding decisions on details of issuing general obligation bonds for fire stations to Finance and License. Petition number 7058, request by John and Goldie Wilson to annex a part of Lot 6, Cobbin and Dinsmore's Orchard Homes, 315 Grove Street, to plat annexation and zoning. Request by Jack Reedy regarding use of oxy-fuels to public safety. Request by Dan Jordan regarding contract with the University of Montana for an address research intern for engineering department to Public Works. Request by Bruce Bender regarding change order number 3 to SID 501 Northwest Broadway Sewer System to Public Works. Request by Bruce Bender regarding change order number 4 to SID 501 Northwest Broadway Sewer System to Public Works. Request by Bruce Bender regarding change order number 4 to SID 497-498 Wapakea Bellevue Sewer System to Public Works. Request by Bruce Bender regarding step sewer easement from Opportunity Resources Incorporated, 2115 38th Street to Public Works. Request by Steve King regarding resolution of intention to create SID 506 Canyon Gate Sanitary Sewer to Public Works. Request by Steve King regarding change order number 1 to SID 504 School Addition Sewer Extension to Public Works. Petition number 7056, request by Earl and Cheryl Owens to rezone portion of lots 5 through 20, Block 2, McCormick Addition number 2, plus the south half of the vacated Cedar Street to the Zoning Commission.
Are there any other referrals? Mr. Sampson.
Have we done all of the necessary referring on the item on the new zoning ordinance? Is that been properly taken care of?
I think we should refer it to PAZ so that they have a vehicle for discussion.
Dennis, could you speak into the microphone?
Okay, I would ask that the item regarding change of ordinance, of the existing ordinance, to allow for more timely notification or a better notification procedure on the change of the ordinance to PAZ.
Any other referrals? If not, we'll have announcements of committee meetings.
Let's see. In administration ordinance and resolutions, there's a fifth item, sick leave donation policy. And what time, Jack?
2 o'clock Thursday.
Finance and license,
3 o'clock.
Thursday.
I will be out of town for the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and Mr. Reedy will chair finance in my absence.
Jack, that was Thursday at 3 o'clock?
Yeah.
Plat annexation and zoning.
I wasn't going to have a meeting. Dennis, you think they'll have that ready for this week, or shall we wait another week?
Wait till next week.
No meeting.
Public Safety Committee.
Tuesday at 4 o'clock.
Public Works.
Thursday at 3 o'clock.
Appointments.
Tuesday.
Cable TV Committee.
No meeting.
Conservation.
Tuesday at 2:30.
Missoula Housing Authority Subcommittee.
Jack, do you think we'll be done with finance and license by 3:30? With claims, contracts for the gasoline purchase, and
Yeah,
general obligation bond?
Half an hour. Chuck, is that cutting it pretty close?
1 and 2 are very easy. Number 3, if everyone reads the memo that was placed on your desk this evening in anticipation of the meeting, it may go fairly quick, but there's some basic decisions to be made on how we go about issuing the bonds, whether or not we go for a bond rating and consider doing citizen bonds. So there might be the most discussion on that item, but you probably can handle it in 30 minutes to 45 minutes.
So 3:45? 3:45 for Missoula Housing Authority Subcommittee?
Kelly, is that Thursday afternoon?
Yes.
I won't be able to make that meeting. I don't know if Curtis will be back or not.
So do you want to wait until next week then?
We could perhaps meet just before the council meeting.
Monday?
Would that be?
So let's do Monday at, do you want to do 7? Give us a half hour? Is that possible for you, Elaine?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, Monday at 7.
Okay, administration ordinances and resolutions, Thursday at 2 p.m. Finance and license, Thursday at 3. No plat annexation and zoning meeting. Public safety, Tuesday at 4. Public works, Tuesday at 3. No appointments or cable TV committee meeting. Conservation, Tuesday at 2:30 p.m. And Missoula Housing Authority Subcommittee, Monday, December 21st at 7 p.m.
Any further business? Mr. Sampson.
Yes, as I will not be here for the next 2 meetings, why, a Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
Meeting's adjourned.
Fairly quick. Okay, I'll pick you up. Yeah, I think so.